Next, move on anti-party hopping law, preserving the heritage of Sarawak. 3 more TTGs to be set up this year. Those are the headlines for tonight. I'm Lorenzo Isaac and this is TVS Nightline. Sarawak's Attorney General's chambers are in the midst of reviewing the next approach on the implementation of the Constitution Amendment in regards to the provision of prohibiting elected representatives to switching parties. Its Attorney General, Datuk Sri Talat Mahmud Abdul Rashid, said the matter has been reviewed, but no decision on the amendment has been made.
Talat added that any decision on the amendment is up to the state government, which includes whether Sarawak should table it in the state legislature. He said this to reporters after attending a reference proceeding at the Kuching Court complex today. Talat was commenting on the situation in Sarawak following the passing of the Constitution Amendment Bill No. 3, 2022 in the Dewan Rakyat on July 28 to amend provisions in the Federal Constitution. On July 30th, Parti Pesaka Bumi Putra Bersatu PBB Senior Vice President Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof said the Sarawak State Attorney General needs to study the next steps that should be taken following the constitutional amendment. He added that the state already has provisions on the prohibition of party hopping in the state's constitution. However, the provisions could not be implemented previously as it conflicted with the federal constitution. Last July 28, the amendment to the Federal Constitution to create a provision prohibiting members of the House of Representatives from switching parties or more synonymous with the term party hopping received the support of more than 2/3 of the members of the House, thus changing the political landscape of the country.
Museum plays a vital role in a community as it acts as an institution to safeguard and display a collection of ancient artifacts and culture, thus building a bridge between the old and the new generation. Therefore, museums need to have an archive that stores data as well as history for the reference of the future generation.
Sebenarnya dari sudut tamadun manusia, kita belajar daripada yang sudah berlaku. Di sanalah kita melihat kekuatan dan kelemahan kita. Dan hari ini kita memperbaiki keadaan tersebut. Dan pada esoknya, kita mesti ada hala tuju untuk hari esok. Dan museumlah selalunya tempat untuk rujukan. Sebab itu, dalam museum mesti ada archive. Archive ini adalah rekod-rekod yang lama yang menjadi tempat rujukan.
In addition, Abang Johari added that museum is also important as it acts as a reference center for academicians and tourists who wish to know more in regards to Sarawak's history.
Begitu juga dengan limbang ini. Kita sudah tentu pihak akademik akan membuat penyelidikan mengenai dengan limbang, sejarah limbang dan juga artifaks fakta yang betul mengenai dengan limbang, dan mereka akan pergi ke museum yang ada. Sebab itulah museum ini akan menjadi satu tempat yang penting. Bukan saja untuk para pelancong yang ingin hendak tahu, tetapi juga kepada para akademik yang akan mencari fakta-fakta yang tertentu mengenai dengan sejarah limbang.
He said this during the officiation ceremony of the Limbang Museum, which was worth 6.39 million ringgit.
The success in operating and managing a temporary transit center TTG for homeless persons in Cebu has set the benchmark for establishing 3 new TTGs in Kuching, Miri and Bintulu. Minister of Women, Childhood and Community Wellbeing Development, Datuk Sri Fatimah Abdullah said the first TTG was set up in Cebu with its official opening on January 28, 2022.
So far, TTG Cebu has provided temporary shelter for 40 homeless persons comprising 29 men and 11 women from December last year up to July 21st this year. However, FATIMAH said her ministry is currently facing a challenge in dealing with homeless people who suffer from mental issue. During the recent Ops Bersepadu Menyelamat Gelendangan on August 2nd, 2022, 10 homeless people were identified and of the total, 4 suffered from mental health issues. She added that her ministry has kept profile of the homeless people they encountered, which comes in handy during the pandemic, thus enabling the ministry to carry out a successful vaccination drive against COVID-19.
How much has Sarawak's power been eroded as enshrined in the Malaysia Agreement 1963? The governing coalition party, Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS, has successfully reclaimed some of its rights as of recent time. But 2 of those have yet to see the light of the day, which are additional legislative powers in the 9th schedule of the Constitution of Malaysia 1957, as well as additional sources of revenue under the 10th schedule of the same Constitution. State Legal Counsel Datuk Sri J.C. Fong explains on the matter further to understand just how much could Sarawak benefit from these legislative powers.
In the case of Sabah and Sarawak, we had certain degree of autonomy in regards to administrative, executive, and legislative authority, and also the power to impose certain taxes such as the state sales tax, and also we are entitled to royalty from our forests, from our minerals, and port and harbour charges for state ports, and so on. So, of course, over the years, with the changes in administration and changes in terms of civil servants administering these constitutional and administrative powers, there has been a certain erosion of those special safeguards that were assigned to the East Malaysian states at the time of the formation of Malaysia.
Complying with MA 63 is a responsibility the federal government must uphold to respect the very foundation of Malaysia. Hence, Fong is of the opinion that as long as negotiations are being held from time to time, Sarawak is in a better shape in regaining its eroded rights one step at a time.
So long as the federal government is willing to discuss these issues relating to lapses or failure to comply with certain agreed terms and conditions or safeguards in the Malaysia Agreement. So long as these fundamental principles are adhered to, the Federation will emerge stronger, more united, and we will be able to progress as a nation for the benefit of all people, including Sarawakians and Sabahans.
Although not actively involved, Datuk Sri J.C. Fong is among the key advisor behind the ongoing negotiation of MA 63 reclamation. Fong further claimed that all initiatives towards championing the MA 63 are carried out as per his advice and will continue to follow formulas that are outlined in the constitutional provisions that was passed at the time when Malaysia was first established through MA 63.
Coming up right after the break, manhunt for hit-and-run suspect, unification in Malaysian family. Right here on TVS Nightline. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The Cebu police are currently tracking the individual who responsible for the death of a pedestrian in a hit-and-run case at the Cebu Durin Road on Wednesday. Cebu District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Zulkifli Suhaili informed that the incident happened around 11:36 a.m. near the exit junction of Jalan Kenawit. The incident is believed to have occurred when the victim, a local man aged 42 years old, tried to cross the road and was hit by a vehicle. As a result of that incident, the victim suffered serious injuries to the head and body and was declared dead at the scene by Cebu ambulance. Meanwhile, police are appealing to members of the public who has information of the incident to contact the officer in charge or come forward to the nearest police station to assist with the investigation. Zulkifli requests the individuals who was involved in the case to surrender in order to help with the police investigation. The case is being investigated under Section 41 in Bracket 1 Road Transport Act APJ 1987. The Malaysian family concept, initiated by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, is an important element in bringing political consensus and establishing national stability. According to Senior Lecturer in Policy Affairs, Political Economy and International Studies of University Utara Malaysia UUM, Dr. Muhammad Shukri Shuib, albeit temporary, it can lead to an amendment of the federal constitution as a result of cooperation between the opposition and the government.
Adding further, he said that elements of the Malaysian family idea with the concept of harmony can be clearly seen through the joint agreement of the anti-party hopping bill.
Dan pada masa yang sama juga kita melihat aspek pemufakatan ini antara yang lebih penting ialah penyeragaman iaitu pandangan di antara blok kerajaan dalam Parlimen Dewan Rakyat bersama juga blok pembangkang. Kalau kita lihat antara ketua eksekutif dan juga ketua pembangkang itu bersama dengan pemimpin lain-lain parti di blok pembangkang itu dapat bersama-sama dan mengadakan satu pendirian khusus yang juga dinamakan sebagai satu perjanjian politik ke arah pemufakatan ini. Jadi ini adalah petanda bahawa dalam konteks aplikasi yang dibuat oleh Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri selaku ketua eksekutif, ketua kabinet yang juga Perdana Menteri, ada memberikan satu gambaran jelas bahawa keluarga Malaysia itu elemennya adalah untuk membawa suatu penyatuan, membawa suatu pemufakatan, membawa juga bersama keharmonian.
He reiterated that two-third majority agreement on the bill clearly portrays political consensus among the government and the opposition, which indirectly changes the public's perception of the administration and functions of the parliament. Therefore, he stressed that when the bill is implemented, it will guarantee a political stability.
Data users will be required to appoint a data protection officer under the proposed amendment to the Personal Data Protection Act 2010, Act 709. Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa said the proposed amendment would also include the introduction of data breach notification, which required all data users to report data leaks to the Commissioner of the Personal Data Protection Department, JPDP, within 72 hours.
The amendment will also require the data processor to comply with security principles and allow the transfer of personal data between data users at the request of the data subject if the technical system allows it.
Cadangan pindahan-pindahan ini akan mewujudkan polisi perlindungan data yang lebih kukuh dan dinamik. Sebagai contoh, melalui penggunaan instrumen baru seperti pelantikan pegawai perlindungan data pribadi dan notifikasi ketirisan data.
He was responding to a question by Setiu MP Shaharizu Kirnain Abdul Kadir on the ministry's plan to amend several clauses in the Personal Data Protection Act in fighting against cybercrimes that had caused nearly 100 million cases of personal data breach. Adding further, Anwar said the proposed amendment had been forwarded to the Attorney General's chamber last June 28 for further action.
Sebaik saja kita menerima maklum balas ataupun draft akhir daripada AGC, satu kertas ataupun memorandum Jemaah Menteri akan segera disediakan dan KCOM komited untuk membentangkan cadangan pindaan Akta 709 ini dalam sesi Parlimen yang akan datang bulan Oktober, insyaAllah.
Apart from the proposed amendment, he said the ministry was also working on other measures to deal with the issue of leakage and scam, including through advocacy and creating a platform to enable the public to check the validity of the calls they receive.
The Ministry of Communications and Multimedia, KCOM, has expanded the scope of eligibility for the Perantiswa Tablet Program to 4 more categories of B40 students.
Iaitu pelajar-pelajar mengikuti program asasi di IPTA, Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi, program-program pelajar-pelajar yang mengikuti program matrikulasi di bawah Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia, pelajar-pelajar semester 1 dan 2 sekolah-sekolah menengah. Kalau dulu dirujuk sebagai pelajar tingkatan 6, Kementerian Pelajaran Malaysia, juga mulai hari ini, pelajar-pelajar diploma vocational Malaysia di kolej-kolej vocational yang menjalankan program diploma. Dan permohonan ini dibuka sehingga 30 hari bulan September.
He said so in response to a question by Sibuti MP Lukanisman Awangsauni, who wanted to know the status of the distribution of tablets through the Peranti Siswa program and the number of tablets distributed to B40 students so far. Prior to this, B40 students who are eligible for the program are those attending full-time diploma programs, an advanced bachelor's degree at IPTA and private higher education institutions under the management of the Ministry of Education, Polytechnic and Community College students under the Education Ministry, students of the Institute of Teacher Education IPG under the Education Ministry, and students of the National Academy of Arts, Culture and Heritage, Aswara.
National women's 400 meters athlete Shireen Sampson described the Birmingham 2022 as a useful platform for improvement to perform better in the future. The experiences that she gained against the world-class athletes is a guide to improve any weaknesses when competing at the highest level.
This is like my first Commonwealth Games. This has been my biggest experience competing in international meets, and I think this will be a good experience in the future. Just coming back and aiming for the best the next time.
In the qualifying rounds of the women's 400 meters, Shireen recorded a time of 53.92 seconds, which landed her the 6th place in the overall ranking. The athlete aims for the slot to compete at the Asia Games in Hangzhou, China in 2023 and the Paris Olympic Games in 2024.
Now on to some global affairs. An elderly Frenchman has survived 16 hours adrift at sea by using an air bubble inside his capsized boat. The 62-year-old was rescued from the icy waters of the Atlantic Ocean by the Spanish Coast Guard, who labeled the feat as verging on the impossible.
Spain's Coast Guard found the 12-meter sailing boat face down after receiving a distress signal late Monday evening. However, the sailor had to wait until morning for a rescue because the sea was too choppy. The boat, named Jean Solo Sailor, sent out the call for help 22 kilometers off the Cisargas Islands near Spain's northwestern Galicia region. It had set off the day before from the Portuguese capital, Lisbon. 3 helicopters and a rescue ship were scrambled to rescue the man, who has not been named after they received the distress signal at 8:23 p.m. local time on Wednesday, August 3rd. One of the helicopters discovered the Upton vessel as the sun was setting and sent a diver down to check for signs of life.
Pieces of debris found scattered across remote Australian paddocks last week were part of a SpaceX mission. The Australian Space Agency confirmed in a statement to a local broadcaster ABC on Wednesday, August 3rd. Astrophysicist Brad Tucker visited the site in Dalgety, located in New South Wales State, to examine the debris which was charred after re-entering Earth's atmosphere. He said the debris, with the largest piece around 3 meters in length, was not a public hazard and described the find as extremely rare.
The debris had originally landed on July 9, according to Tucker, but farmer Mick Minus said he only realized what the piece on his property was weeks later, as it was obscured and easily mistaken as a burnt tree from afar. Private rocket company SpaceX was founded by billionaire Elon Musk.
2/3 of Australia's Great Barrier Reef showed the largest amount of coral cover in 36 years. But the reef remains vulnerable to increasingly frequent mass bleaching, the Australian Institute of Marine Sciences said in its annual report on Thursday, August 4th. Its long-term monitoring program of coral reefs found that recovery in the central and northern stretches of the UNESCO World Heritage listed site contrasted with the southern region, where there was a loss of coral cover due to crown of thorns starfish outbreaks.
In the northern region, the average hard coral cover grew to 36% in 2022, from a low of 13% in 2017, while in the central region, hard coral cover increased to 33% from a low of 12% in 2019, the highest levels recorded for both regions since the Institute began monitoring the reef in 1985.
Conditions over the last couple of years have really been conducive to recovery of the reef, despite the fact that we've had a couple of mass bleaching events. And in the north and the central Great Barrier Reef, we've seen the highest levels of % hard coral cover that we've recorded in 36 years of monitoring. And that, I guess that's kind of counterbalanced by a small decline in the southern Great Barrier Reef, which is due to crown of thorns starfish outbreaks.
However, in the southern region, which generally has higher hard coral cover than the other two regions, cover fell to 34% in 2022 from 38% a year earlier. On the downside, the growth in coral cover has been driven by Acropora corals, which AIMS said are particularly vulnerable to wave damage, heat stress, and crown of thorns starfish.
So today, I think what we're seeing is that the Great Barrier Reef still is a resilient system. It still maintains that ability to recover from disturbances. And if you give it enough chance, it can do that. But the worrying thing is that, the frequency of these disturbance events are increasing, particularly, the mass coral bleaching events. It's been 4 in 7 years. And we're really in uncharted waters when it comes to the effects of the bleaching and what it means moving forward.
Still, the recovery comes after the 4th mass bleaching in 7 years and is the first recorded during a La Nina event, which typically brings cooler temperatures.
Infertility may be caused by a number of different factors. However, it is sometimes not possible to explain the causes of infertility. To know more about the topic, join fertility specialist Dr. Haris Ju Suharjono on Sejahtera Asia Tomorrow with hosts Ghazali Zawawi and Fatah Bolhanuddin 7:45 a.m. on TVS Astro Channel 122 and My Freeview. See the world closer with TVS as we bring you the latest news updates both locally and internationally. Just a click away by heading on to our official website at TVSTVMY or follow us on our social media platforms. That's all the time we have for TVS Nightline. I'm Lorenzo Isaac. Thank you for watching.